Good evening. My name is Lucas McKinnon. I'm a graduate student at the School of Global Public Health, focusing on the UN Sustainable Development Goals. This summer, I worked with Pacific Gateway Center on Oahu. PGC was originally founded in response to the forced mass migration of Southeast Asians to Hawaii following the Vietnam War. Its guiding mission is to empower low-income residents, immigrants, and trafficked refugees to achieve self-sufficiency through skill building and access to opportunities. As an intern, I supported the Social Enterprise Program team as a food system project coordinator. SEP began in 2012, and PGC currently leases 206 acres of farmland to refugee and immigrant families in Kunia, located in central Oahu. These farmers were trafficked from Cambodia, Thailand, and Laos to Oahu and forced to work for no pay on large industrial farms. SEP expanded its reach to include many of these farmers and now supports more than 40 trafficked refugee farmers who grow fresh produce for local food distributors, restaurants, and farmers markets. I assisted as an intern with surveying land to augment organic food production, improving land lease terms, organizing farmer-to-farmer trainings, building community networks and skill sharing opportunities, and helping ensure compliance with respect to food safety. On the outside, my day-to-day work may have looked mundane, but it was imbued with greater meaning, thanks to PGC's insistence that our work be guided by a deep commitment to human rights. The human rights discourses defining this work are myriad and include the right to food, the right to healthcare, immigrant rights, the rights of displaced peoples, and the right to work. These discourses are tangibly evident in the socioeconomic circumstances for many of Oahu's low-income residents. Oahu is one of the most geographically isolated and food import-dependent populations in the world. It imports 90% of its food, fertilizer, and energy, and relies on a highly vulnerable agribusiness food system. 50% of the population are what is coined ALICE, asset limited, income constrained, and employed, often working 2 or more jobs. And its indigenous immigrant and low-income communities have the highest rates of diet-related diseases. Farmers in our SEP program are even more vulnerable to such social determinants of health, as many lack access to basic human rights like citizenship, housing, healthcare, and translation resources. Through my independent study, my work was theoretically grounded in the politics of food sovereignty and self-determination. The following ideas listed here were essential in concretizing alternative approaches to agricultural development and used to guide PGC's rights-based work as it seeks to establish food sovereignty through applied agroecology and participatory governance. I learned to recognize the state's institutional preoccupation with singular crop perfection and its myopic visions of public health as joint projects. I worked to unlearn my assumptions with respect to individual and community-based knowledge. I learned imperfectly my role as an ally and the importance of knowledge-intensive practices like agroecology, which are locally grounded. My work forced me to, if not reconcile, then at least recognize the implications of settler colonialism, occupancy, and displacement. I'm now more aware of the role of development as an anti-politics machine and the role of NGOs in the professionalization, bureaucratization, and institutionalization of what are potentially radical and liberatory social movements. I remain in daily conversation with seemingly irreconcilable issues stemming from settler colonialism, histories of human trafficking, and peoples now seeking political protection and representation through an occupying power. A number of aspects of the third world approaches to international law have been invaluable for putting these issues into new light. Private property and capital accumulation are problematized by the meeting of trafficked and displaced peoples farming for profit on stolen land. This in turn challenges fossil dichotomies present in the discourses of indigeneity and settler and transnational colonialisms. Oops. Here we go. The challenges of redressing land ownership and land management, reframing development, and establishing resilient community networks remain. But what I know is that I was able to support an incredible team that is working tirelessly to ensure full-time employment and sufficient food and health insurance for trafficked and refugee farmers. I'm happy to say that I will be able to sustain these relationships and support these efforts going forward as I stay on as a full-time farm entrepreneurship specialist with PGC. And lastly, I'd like to thank Vasuki, Mehmet for this opportunity, my cohort for dealing with my sleepy presence on early morning Zoom calls, and you all for your time.